Hey everybody, Donkey Storm here, and today we're going to be doing a tank guide and route for the other side. This key was done on a plus 20, necrotic, spiteful, tyrannical, so pretty rough affixes. We're going to be going over a pretty basic route that's going to fit most situations. And we'll go over all of the pain points of this dungeon. Where are you going to use your cooldowns? What are you going to pull? Things to look out for, all that good stuff. Now, this is done from a Guardian Druid point of view. However, I hope that it can be applicable for all tanks. There will be some Guardian-specific stuff in here, though. So right out of the gate and the other side, you've got two really hard pulls back-to-back. And you have the opportunity to use Lust on either one of them because it's going to be a really long time before you hit a boss in here. So the most common strategy is to Lust the first pull. However, I'm actually becoming more of a fan of lusting the second pull because you have all your cooldowns up for the first pull. It just dies. And then you've got less ticking and you're losing value there. So even though in this key we're going to lust the first pull, I'm actually more of a fan of lusting the second one. So another thing, from a bear point of view, you got to get your pre-pull Incarn off here. You're going to want to have that rolling for the first pack, and then you want to save your real Incarn for the second pack. So we got our pre-pull Incarn running here. We're going to tag these guys on our way down. Just gather this whole group up. Now you've got the Warlord in this pack that will enrage, and if he enrages, you need to soothe him immediately. If you can't soothe or you don't have a soothe in your group, you need to kite. So you can see there I soothe him immediately. But you cannot take hits from that guy while he's enraged. Also, he will not die while enraged, even if he hits 0 life. So he needs to be soothed. Now on top of that, you've got these other mobs that cast Dark Lotus, the big purple swirly on the ground. That can one-shot you. You want to try to kick that if you can. So you can see here we finished the pull with like 12 seconds on Lust left. That's a pretty big waste. So yeah, I think lusting the second pull is a better way to go. So here we're going to pop our real Incarn, gather these guys all up. The Death Speaker is your big kick target here. Now if you do lust this pull and you're feeling spicy, you can grab that Tormentor too and gather them in with it. But if you're pugging, and this is sort of a pug-friendly route, I wouldn't recommend it. Makes it pretty tough. This pull's pretty tough anyway. So as you can see, we got Incarn rolling, so we're not concerned with the fact that we're almost unhealable at this point, but once Incarn drops, which is about right now, we're going to just run away and kite. Let those stacks drop off, quick Typhoon and get out of there, and then we'll get back in and continue to do damage. So that's the way you want to start this off. We're going to grab the Tormentor next. Like I said, you could stack him up with the other mobs if you really want to. It's very doable, especially on a Tyrannical week, but it definitely adds a lot of difficulty to the pull. So for Oros, it's just going to be dodge the laser beam, dodge the stuff on the ground. You can pop off a Heart of the Wild Convoke there and get this guy down. Oros is skippable in DOS, but again, this is designed to be a pug-friendly route, and that adds a lot of difficulty to getting to those portals and also dodging all mueh'zala's mechanics at the end of the dungeon. So again, not really recommended unless you're feeling very confident. So this route is going to take us all the way around the dungeon, grabbing all 4 Tormentors before we even hit a boss. So we're going to grab the 10% reduced AoE. It's actually going to help us on the very next pull when we grab this Enraged Spirit. So these guys are tough, especially on a fortified week. And you want to have your Night Fae time the jar so that it hits the Rage Cast as it starts. You don't want to hit the Rage Cast on the wind-up because then he'll immediately rage again as soon as he's unstunned. So here we're a little early, but we absolutely just blow this guy up. We use another Boomy Convoke there, so he gets like a couple ticks of rage off, and then we're out of here. So a lot of times Incarn might be back up here. For me, it's still about 25 seconds out. And because of Necrotic, I decide to wait rather than combine this pull with the 2 Warlords next to it. But in hindsight, it's pretty safe to combine this. This is very conservative by me. My personal style is that if I find that I'm ahead of the timer, I'm not going to take too many chances. So we let those die. We let our stacks fall off. We grab the Warlords. We hit Incarn just to be like ridiculously safe here, I guess. We're not going to have really much else to use it for, but I think this was overly conservative. We probably could have combined all this, but you'll see. It's going to work either way. So we've got 2 Warlords here. Now in our group we do have a Rogue and myself to soothe. However, the Rogue soothe cooldown I believe is quite a bit longer. So we're going to be fortunate enough to, I think, kill 1, and then I can get the soothe off on the second one. Again, just never tank these if they're enraged. Just don't ever do it. You will die. Even on keys that are like pretty remedial for you. So as soon as he rages, we soothe that thing. And we start heading up the stairs into the Mechagon Wing. Now this is going to be just a quick dip into the Mechagon Wing. We want to get the Tormentor here and then get out. So we got Varuth here. We'll just pull him around the corner and do the usual Varuth dance of stack and spread, stack and spread. So DOS is a long dungeon. It's very circular. Not a big favorite, I believe, for most people. Definitely not one of mine. And it's a tough key to time. A lot of the affixes in here are very punishing, especially in the Ardenweald wing, which we'll get to in a second. But Ardenweald can be tough. So we'll talk about how Necrotic is going to affect us here. Anyway, we're just dipping in here to get Varuth down, and then we're going to be heading back out into the outer circle to get a lot of trash. We're going to be at 64% before our first boss pull. So quite a bit. So with Varuth finally going down, we'll grab our Anima Power, Stygian King's Barbs, to get a lot of value out of that in this dungeon. And we're off back into the center ring. We got another mask coming up here, and you have no jar to use as a crutch here. So it's important that somebody uses a DPS cooldown here. You don't want to go through multiple phases of the rage cast on a difficult key, because your healer just won't be able to keep up. So when the masks spawn, you can disorient them or use any kind of CC to make them despawn. Now, as you can see, our looks like our mage really blew this guy up here. And that's super important. You don't want to go through multiple rage phases. So we're grabbing Arcalith. I like to pull him all the way down the stairs just to add a little bit more room to maneuver. You can fight him up on top too. But again, from a pug-friendly perspective, you run the risk of somebody pulling those guys to the right. I'd prefer to just pull them down here. So nice to call a first kick on Arcalith. That way not everybody tries to kick the first cast and then he blows everybody up with the second one. So I have my handy dandy I got first kick macro that I talk about in every video that I do. And we use that on this guy to make sure kicks don't get stacked up. So this is going to be our third Tormentor. Still no bosses yet. So this route's a lot different than what you used to do in Season 1, where you had to worry about Pride. Now here, we're grabbing Crumbling Bulwark, and we are heading up the stairs. This is a pack you're definitely going to want to combine, especially if you have a Night Fae, which you really should. We're going to grab these guys to the left. We're going to grab the casters, and then if you dip behind this little pillar here, try not to fall off, you will line of sight these guys all into range of the urn. Now I have Incarn here, but I'm choosing not to use it because my hope is that these things are going to be more or less dead by the time the stun runs out. And I mean, they're all about 50%. And I'm planning on doing a big pull to start Ardenweald, so I am not going to use my Incarn here. If you get in trouble, absolutely use it. It's better to use it than die. But I feel like I can just rotate some defensives and kite As you can see, my group's doing a nice job peeling for me, easily resetting stacks and heading up the stairs to Ardenweald. Maybe you consider this hallway a boss, and this is your first boss of the dungeon, because a lot of people get dinged by the traps in here. Let's see if I can professionally make it through this hallway without getting hit by anything. Wouldn't be much of a video if I did. Are we gonna make it? Yes, we make it through the hallway without getting hit by anything. Now, can the group... Oh, nope, Rogue's hit. We'll see who else makes it through. Always fun. So, Ardenweald is kind of like where your money is made in this dungeon. Let's pause it for a moment here. There's different strategies you can take here. This is a very like standard conservative route where we're just going to pull what we need and get out. You have other options too. You can pull really big in here, and then you can skip things in the Mechagon route. Or in the Mechagon Wing, and I think you can find that route on Raider.io, but this is going to be super standard, and the way to remember what to pull if you haven't spent a lot of time in here is you're basically pulling in threes. So you're grabbing the first pack here of moths, the Spriggans on the right, that's 2, and then these rune stags make 3, so your first pull's triple pull. We're going to pop Incarn here to help blow these up. And then when Incarn's up, we don't care about stacks. We're just going to town. And then with a few seconds left, we'll back out. These mobs don't really pose much of a threat. They're all slowable. You can just walk away when you need to. Or just Typhoon or whatever your kiting ability of choice happens to be. One thing I could be doing better here is helping dispel these curses. Which you absolutely should do to help your group out. So, one pull down, that's a triple. You can grab Sagadon. There was a time where I would pull these Spriggans in with Sagadon, but he just buffs physical damage so much. I would rather just combine them with the next pull and fight this guy on his own. So you can combine things with Sagadon. It's not like the end of the world, but having done it both ways, it doesn't really make sense here. You can just fight him himself and then do big pulls to follow it up. So we'll take Sagadon down here, grab the Stone Ward, and then our next pull is going to be another triple pull. So again, when I first started tanking this dungeon, I'd kind of forget like what I'm supposed to be pulling to make my percentage, and you just think of it as triple pull, triple pull, triple pull. So we're going to grab Stone Ward, and we're going Spriggans, Rune Stags, and then the patrolling birds. So we'll sit here with these guys until the birds come. Use some defensives and try not to die. And then when those birds start, like I'm watching them over there on the left, getting ready to grab them. So my stacks are getting super high. I really want to get out of here. Yeah, and I get a wings from the priest. Thankfully, I don't need it, but I don't get very much aggro on those guys because I have to kite the necrotic away so quickly. So just kind of unfortunate pathing there, and now I'm kind of struggling to pick these guys up off people, trying to single taunt them and just do whatever I can to keep my group alive. But another triple pull, another group of mobs that can easily be kited, slowed, CC'd in any way, so not a lot of danger there. This is definitely a fun place to DPS, as you just kind of AoE like crazy. So now we're going to start kiting them back in the direction we're actually going to go, and we're going to go triple pull again. And our next one's going to be our urn pull. I see some people do some pretty dumb stuff with the urn. Like, the urn is nice, but it doesn't really, unless your DPS is just really strong, the urn is not just like a free pass to do whatever. I really would recommend just another triple pull here. So we're going to grab these 5 birds from the water, and they do need to be kind of rounded up individually. We're going to grab the 3 Spriggans that are here invis, and then we're going to grab the Rune Stags off to the side. Now, this urn goes off a little bit early. Would have liked to have those guys all stacked up together, but not the end of the world. So we pop Incarn there. you could make the argument that I should have waited until the urn wore off, because that would have allowed me to stay in longer. But we're still getting a lot of value out of it. And again, once Incarn starts falling off, we're just going to Typhoon, walk away, let our stacks drop off. Not a ton of danger here, even though at times it looks a little scary. If you're feeling big, you can pull more from that previous pull into that urn, but to me, this is very safe. Like, I didn't feel really in any danger there as we did this pull. And then just kind of trying to kill these Spitefuls so these guys can get through. Avoid the dragon. So I'm going to make a mistake coming up here that's important to note. So as you're rounding this pull up, we don't want to get the Matriarch. The Matriarch is pretty scary, and it's not percent value as far as mob percentage goes. We would like to grab this Blade Beak once it's padded far enough away that we can grab it, but not the Matriarch. Now I make a mistake here and I grab the Matriarch, so I'm going to have to do a little bit of alteration to the route. See, I thought I got it there, but oh wait, I did. So how did that Matriarch pull? Interesting. I'm not quite sure what happened. Or maybe it was the hatchling. Did the hatchling go off? Okay, hold on. For science, we need to know what happened here. I thought I accidentally pulled it, but maybe the hatchling's call went off. So we're grabbing that hatchling. The hatchling needs to be stunned before its cry goes off. Otherwise, is that what happened? It is. The hatchling got its cry off, and it pulled the rest of the birds. Okay, well, now we know. Don't let that happen. There is no reason why we couldn't... a number of people could have done a number of things to prevent that, so that was just a big whoopsie on many of our parts, especially mine. I feel like as the tank, you gotta be on that. So now I'm in a bit of trouble. I'm at 106% necrotic, and I am just running. The Matriarch also can't be slowed, so that's not good either. So this was a kind of a mess. Ideally, you don't get this Matriarch, and I actually did do that in here, but I did not stun out the hatchling, and that's how we ended up in a sticky situation here. So because we got the Matriarch, our next pull is going to be a little bit different than what it otherwise would have been. And you'll see that here in a second. So if you do this route correctly and you don't pull the Matriarch, you're going to grab everything down the ramp as well as the 3 invisible Spriggans to the left. Now I'm going to skip those guys because the Matriarch would have made up that percentage. So it's just a little bit of like on the fly route change you have to do there. But ideally, right here, there's an invisible group of Spriggans. You would grab them and do them instead of the Matriarch for future reference, if you don't want to be a big screw-up like me. So again, super safe pull. You can dip out of here and kite anytime using whatever your tank class happens to use to get away. These things can be slowed, stunned, all that good stuff. No real fear here, so there's not a lot of reason to not pull big in Ardenweald. Except maybe bolstering, but that's another story. So we're on to our first boss. Finally, it only took us 16 minutes to get there. This is Dealer Zyxa. And Dealer Zyxa is a bit of a pain from a group perspective. So as a tank, positioning things to note is that you want to drag Dealer away from the swirls here. To make it easy for people to see and hard for people to accidentally step on. So we want to create a little bit of room there. It's also going to make it more clear when everybody needs to go up which one you're getting in if you create a little bit of space. You don't need to be running them like all around in a circle. So when Explosive Contrivance goes out, everybody's supposed to get in a swirly. And it can be a little hectic making sure everybody gets into one safely. Now as the tank, you can eat this ability, especially if you pop a defensive. It's better to eat the ability and take the damage than it is to take a swirly away from a DPS who will certainly die if they don't go up. So for me, sometimes I will eat this ability if I think, oh, that guy doesn't look like he's going to get in. Like, two of us are both trying to get in the same swirly. I will just be like, back up, you take it, and I'll pop a defensive. I'll be fine, even on a 20 tyrannical. So we'll see if that happens in this at all. So in this one, I do go up. I think the rogue the rogue cloaked that one. So super safe there. And now while all this is going on, there's also the that arcane lightning debuff that keeps getting passed around, and as you can see, it causes people to gain stacks. It's gonna increase the amount of damage they take, and basically you want to keep passing this around so that nobody gets too high. So here's another one. Let's see. Yeah, it's pretty clear who's gonna take what there, so we go up. We'll see if at any point in this fight I just choose to not go up at all. But that's the fight. And the lightning is typically the pain point. Because you really want it to pass between 3 people. It becomes problematic if 2 people just keep passing it back and forth and back and forth. As a tank, you can take a pretty solid amount of stacks of it. But basically, you just don't want anybody's stacks to get too high before you just pass it off to someone else. And that's something that everybody needs to watch for. Every player in the group needs to be aware of this one. And this is, I would say, after the nerfs to Hakkar, this is one of the 2 scarier bosses in here. I definitely see people die, and as you can see, we had a guy cloak, we had a guy ice block. These immunities are ways that you can get this debuff off of you or reset your stacks. So dealer's going to go down here, and then we're going to head back out, and we're going to backtrack back toward the Hakkar wing. So Mechagon is coming next. You want to make sure you're at, so I'm going to be a little bit over percentage here because of that matriarch pull. Ideally, you're at 64 and change percent as you pull dealer. But we went a little bit over because of that hatchling cry going off. That could have been really bad. We're lucky that we had a group that was pretty good at peeling for us and slowing things so that we can make it out of there okay. Alright, so now we get to do the other side dance of running around in a circle for 45 minutes. And we're going to go back to the left and go back into Mechagon. Maybe in the future I'll do a video about the skip. I feel like this route is super accessible. It's easy, it's pug friendly, and it's very timeable. I feel like it's very timeable. Especially if you're playing Guardian, there's some really great incarn opportunities in this dungeon where you can take some of the hard pulls and really trivialize them. So next we got these dental drills. Super annoying mobs. These can be skipped, but in our route we're killing them. They're annoying because they have a lot of health and you have to spend so much time away from them, so we actually expend a Boomy Convoke here to kind of help get this thing down a little bit faster. And then we gotta swap back into bear form so we don't die. But yeah, the dental drills are not very efficient mobs to kill. This one can actually be skipped without even an invis. You can just walk around it when it's in the right position. But anyway, that's a topic for another video. So we're going to incarn pull next. We're going to combine all this trash, the dog, the spinning guys, everything together. You got to be careful here about the mobs coming over from the left and blowing you up. That is not good. I believe in this group somebody's just going to take care of them, or we might even just completely ignore them for now. So the spin up, if you've got incarn running, I mean, I wouldn't intentionally eat it, but it doesn't actually really hurt you too bad. So we're just going to clean this up. And then we'll have another dental drill to kill. Man, Spiteful is such a slog. It doesn't seem that bad, but look how much time you waste with this stuff, just so people can, like, walk by. So anyway, here's our second drill. This is one place you can tank them. You can tank them pretty much anywhere that's going to allow your group to break line of sight. And again, these guys just take a long time because you have to spend so much time away from them. So, yeah, not much to say here. You do have to be, if you decide to convoke these, you do have to be a little bit careful. They can hit you pretty hard if you're not prepared for it. So you can see we're just painfully slow killing these guys. And then we're going to grab the lubricator, line of sight him around the corner. Right? Line of sight him around the corner. Okay, we try to knock back these bots, and I don't think that went quite according to plan. Anyway, just kick the lubricator as often as you can. They do a big AoE. They can also heal themselves, so you want to try to not let anything go off if you can help it. But if the AoE goes off, like right there, not the end of the world. The self-cleaning cycle, however, you want to get that. You don't want mobs healing themselves. So we take this first lubricator alone. We're going to have an engineer in the group, so they're going to shut off the slimes. Wouldn't really matter if they did or not, but we're going to grab both lubricators here. On a tyrannical week, there's like no danger in this. Fortified, it's going to depend on your kicks and your healer, probably, whether or not you want to try this, but I would recommend doing it. This wing can really slow you down. All these mobs are just slow to die. So combining these two is not bad. We don't want those self-cleaning cycles going off. So we'll be heading into one more group of 3 coming up, and then it's time for the Mana Storms, which I would say is the second dangerous boss, and second and kind of final dangerous boss in here. So we're going to grab the Sentient Oil. Really good idea to just stun out these casts, kick them as often as possible. If they all happen to get like directed on one person, it can really chunk people down. So these mobs might not seem too dangerous, but if they all get their casts off a lot, they'll do a lot of damage. So we're using our High Mountain Racial, we're using our AoE stun, we're using our kick, maybe even a Typhoon to try and get these guys to not cast stuff. And we're not going to bother Typhooning because they're almost dead. And then we will do the tightrope walk here and head on to the Mana Storms. Another kind of tough boss. And Necrotic will actually add to the difficulty of this boss a fair amount. So we start with Millhouse. Millhouse is the easy one from a tank perspective. Millhouse won't really hurt you too bad. So we can kick that Frostbolt. And then the main mechanic here is soaking the pink lines. Now, as a tank, you don't really want to soak the pink lines unless nobody else is doing it, because they do cause the DPS to do more damage. And then the other big mechanic on Millhouse is the DPS and healer lining up the laser to stun him out of his casts. As a tank, you don't really play too much of a role in that. You don't want to get hit by that laser beam yourself. So here you can see I back up a little bit so as not to get hit by those spikes. But other than that, then the Doom cast is obviously the one he has to get hit by, which our group manages to do there. And then we get Millie. Millie's the harder one of the two. Buzzsaw hurts quite a bit. You should be using cooldowns here. I'm using Survival Instincts. And also, when one of those little squirrel bombs goes out, you can spam click on the boss, and sometimes you'll actually defuse it before it even gets out of melee range. Sometimes you will, sometimes you won't. But every time it's worth a try. Just spam click it. That's what I'm doing here. And that one I didn't get. I know I saw one I got earlier. So it's kind of hit or miss. I think they made it a little bit. Here we go. Did we get that one? No, we did not. And then, obviously, super important that she gets stunned by the shadow destruction thing there, so that she doesn't get her cast off. If that cast gets off on a decent enough tyrannical key, it's very difficult to survive. And then it's just pretty much rinse and repeat. I'm fine using an incarn here because there's nothing coming up that I'm really gonna need one for. So here we're just basically repeating the same thing again. You have to be really careful about killing Millhouse first, because you do not ever want Millie to get her big cast off. And there we actually managed to get hit by spikes, so not ideal. Not sure why that happened. So these guys got to line up their laser to stun him out of the doom, and they do, and Millhouse is going to be pretty much done for. We got Millie again, and again we're just going to use cooldowns as often as we can for the Buzzsaw. Buzzsaw hurts quite a bit. So combining like a cooldown with Frenzied Regen, I try to use Frenzied Regen essentially every time that cast goes off, is very helpful for your healer there to help keep you up. Then Millhouse jumps back down, and we are just about done with this fight. Pretty long fight on a tyrannical boss. And now we head to Hakkar, who was formerly the most difficult boss of this dungeon, but now kind of a joke. So we're just going to Typhoon those guys away so we don't have to worry about them. And now we're heading to the Hakkar wing. So more backtracking. We're heading here with... going into that last wing with 14 minutes to go tells me we're in a pretty good spot here, and we don't need to take any big risks. So we're going to pull this super standard. My goal here was just to time this key. We weren't trying to like a +2 or +3 or anything. This is just a pug trying to time a 20. So we're going to head in here and do things like a pretty basic, straightforward way. We're not going to do any big pull combines because we're not behind the timer. So we're going to take this High Priest group. We're going to stun out the Devoted. You might as well let their cast bars fill up a little bit before you do your stuns. So you can use your Disorienting Roar. You can use I use my High Mountain stun there. You can use a Typhoon or whatever you've got that does CC abilities. Ideally your group's going to be helping you out too. And we're just going to grab this group. You don't want that to go off though. It's going to make life a lot more difficult than it needs to be. There is combining that can be done in this hallway, but like I said, to me when I'm at 14 minutes right here, we're just trying to not screw up and keep it simple. So we're going to pull this one group at a time until the end. So then we have this group of 3 here. You can try to stun out the Deathwalker's spins, save your melee, allow them to stay in there a little bit longer. So yeah, Blade Storm goes out, we stun it. Necrotic, not a huge deal in here, just because there's not that big of a density of mobs, so these things are all going to die before we have to worry too much about Necrotic. And then I'm a little concerned about that Spiteful because, I'm going to need my group to help stun here. I can get a couple of them, so we do our big stun there. Actually, the mage did, so we don't have our stun available right now. It's a little bit worrisome. Luckily, our group is picking up the slack and making sure that those things don't complete their cast, because that's really bad if they do. And then obviously, any spell that has the word heal in it should be kicked 100% of the time, like this one. Healing Wave, come on somebody got that. We never want those to go off. And then the best place to use the jar is just going to be the last last pull of the dungeon. So we're going to tag these guys. We're going to dip around the corner and just hug that wall until they're all the way over. Don't pop out too soon, because you want to get that last mob in there. So then the Night Fae Urn goes off. It actually looks like one mob did not get hit by that. Not the end of the world. We can get a big Boomy Convoke in there while there's no danger, and then we go back into Bear and grab up all the aggro that we missed while we were trying to do a Boomy Convoke. And then it will be time for Hakkar. Hakkar used to be very scary back in Season 1, but he's been nerfed so many times that he is kind of a joke now. And, I mean, there was a time where there was no way you would go into Hakkar with 6 minutes on Lust, but now, don't care. It's totally fine. So, and also from a tank perspective, Hakkar is not too bad. Always make sure people are getting in, because this gate does close. I've locked a healer out one time, and now I always check. So we're grabbing Hakkar. And really the only thing as a tank that you need to be too concerned about is Piercing Barb. It does hurt. You do need to commit some kind of cooldown or defensives to make sure that you mitigate some of that. And he does it quite a bit, so you're not always going to be able to use a big major defensive. To me, this is an okay boss to use an Incarn on too, since you're not going to need one anytime soon. You can do a little extra damage to the adds. We just want to make sure we're mitigating Piercing Barb as much as possible. So, fighting this with no Lust, you know, maybe not ideal. We see this guy's taking quite a while. We've got Incarn rolling right now, and we're just, we're feeling it. These, the Sons of Hakkar fixate on stuff, so you don't need to be too concerned about trying to hold aggro on them. And I like to stand in this little doorway as long as I'm able to just kind of tag them as they come out, since they come from up the stairs. So more Piercing Barbs. You can see our health kind of fluctuating there as we try and mitigate that. And you know, the typical tyrannical boss that just takes an age. We talk about all the mechanics in the first couple minutes, and then we just kind of watch it happen. So, and this is definitely one of those fights that, like, the longer it lasts, the scarier it gets. So we're finally forced out of our little hidey hole over there by all the blood on the ground. And we're just trying to stay alive through all the Piercing Barbs and do what we can to help out with the adds. Adds need to die in here. You can't have adds running around for too long. And then once Hakkar goes down, we're going to have roughly 8 minutes on our timer for mueh'zala. And as you're going to see here in a little bit, it's a good thing that we do. So, never pull mueh'zala if people don't know what portal they're supposed to go in. Usually a good group just starts calling it as you're walking over there. Usually I like to kind of start that discussion and just type, like, you know, back left, front right, or whatever, to make sure that everybody knows where they're going to go beforehand. So we'll see how we handle it in this group, but I believe that's what we're going to do. Yeah, so front right. The typical strategy is you're going to have the tank and healer take one together, and then all the DPS take their own. Now the spirits or ghosts or whatever they are that you have to kill in each portal do gain health along with Tyrannical, and they have a lot of health. Now, you guys know I play a Holy Priest, and I love Holy Priest, and I think this guy did a really nice job healing. As we could see on the damage meters, he wasn't exactly lighting it up, doing less than 1k overall, so I was already going into this thinking, like, this is going to be a little tough to get this totem down. As Druid is also not the exactly king of single target damage either. So that's already where my head's at, and I'm going to be holding as much as I can to try and get that totem down, and we can watch and see what happens. So things to know here, mueh'zala puts a big dot on you, and it's a good idea to commit some defensives, some self-healing to that to help your healer out, as they're going to be running all around dodging stuff during this time, trying to keep everybody alive. So Soul Crusher, whenever that goes out, we're putting down a Frenzied Regen, we're using a Survival Instincts, we're just trying to minimize that damage as much as we can. And also, as you can see, does it quite often. You're not always going to be able to commit a huge defensive to it. So we're dodging left, and then you know that the next one will be right, and then it's out of melee. Some combination of those three. And then after 2 rounds of that, you got portals. So we said front right. We're not positioning. Yeah, we're good. We're heading over there with the priest now. Okay. So spoiler alert, we're not going to get our totem down on the first try. So I'm actually kind of looking at this self-critically, seeing what could I have done to do more damage here. So I know what I tried to do was I saved Heart of the Wild, I saved Convoke, went into Eclipse. I did what I thought was the most damage that I could have done. So let's see how that went. So I'm in Bear, and then we go Boomy. We're getting our Eclipse up. We have our dots on. Waiting a while for some reason to pop Convoke. Not sure why that is, and that could have possibly been. Oh, there we go. Okay, I mean, I guess we could have Convoked a little bit earlier, but yeah, we get it down to about 8%. Yeah, very close. Honestly, it's tough when, you know, if you're a tank that's not a huge damage tank, you got a healer that's not a huge damage healer, knowing that those things gain health along with Tyrannical. We just didn't have enough damage over there. I don't know what the priest was doing. I mean, I saw him casting damage spells, so you know, what are you gonna say? Luckily, we bought ourselves so much time. We're still at about 5 minutes to go that we're gonna be able to time it just fine either way. I mean, ideally, you want to get all 4 down, but I'm not sure what we could have done aside from Convoke. Maybe a hair earlier. I don't know if that would have been enough, because even if we killed it, we'd still have to channel on the totem and actually get the cast off. So that's tough. That's tough. On a higher Tyrannical key, you want to have a healer that can do a little bit of damage along with you as the tank in there. So we pop in Karn here just because why not? There's no reason not to. There's no more trash, obviously, and there's no reason to not cast it. So now we just have to go kind of through the walk of shame of doing all these abilities again while we wait for the portals to come back up. And the real unfortunate thing is, even if we kill this spirit immediately, you still have to go through the whole phase, which is why you want to go into mueh'zala with plenty of time. All it takes is, you know, one group or one person who can't get their totem down, and then you have to stand here for like almost a full minute. This boss can take a tremendous amount of time, so you want to get those totems down first try if you can. We were very close. Probably could have Convoked a little bit earlier. We might have gotten it. And then we just polish him off here, and that's going to be DOS. So there you have it, guys. That is the other side. That's your route. I'll post the MDT link in the description if you guys want to use it. Leave me a comment. If you do use it, let me know how it goes, or if you have any ideas, stuff you think I missed in here. I really appreciate it. And if you like this video, please subscribe, like the video so you can see more of what I got coming later on, and I will see you guys next time.